Hold on. I have to turn it off.
Welcome to the Spirits Society of Virginia on this week before Christmas.
Sorry, John.
This one?
Okay. Too many things.
Tell me about it.
Okay.
Today's reading is taken from Our Daily Bread, from the authorship of Emmanuel through the mediumship of Francisco Xavier. And today's selection is chapter 49, An Old Argument. Acts of the Apostle, chapter 26, verse 24. And upon offering this in his defense, Paul's defense, Festus exclaimed loudly, "You are crazy, Paul. Your great learning is making you delirious." Then Emmanuel writes, "It is very common to launch against the disciples of the gospel the false accusations of madness ascribed to them by this century's proponents of scientism. This is an old age argument on the part of those who, complacent in their errors, want to flee the truth. There are workers who waste valuable time lamenting that the crowds classify them as mentally unbalanced. This is no reason for barren arguments. On many occasions, the Master himself was assumed to be demented, and the apostles received no other designation. In one of his final arguments, we see Paul, the valiant friend of the Gentiles, facing the providential court of Caesarea, proclaiming the immortal truths of Jesus Christ. The assembly is overcome with amazement. Paul's noble and sincere speech petrifies the audience. It is at this time that Pontius Festus, the leader of the guests, decides to break down the vibration of fear that dominates the environment. But before doing so, however, this astute Roman realized that he first had to justify his actions on a sound basis. But how could he accuse the great convert of Damascus if he, Festus, was aware of Paul's honest character, his sincere humility, his sublime patience, and his burning spirit of sacrifice? He then remembers Paul's great learning, and he calls him crazy because of the divine knowledge to which he bore witness. So remember this self-denying warrior, and do not be affected by false references from those who try to provoke you into abandoning the truth. Evil is incompatible with the good, and with little learning or with great learning. From the moment you enroll as a member of the disciples of Jesus, the inferior world will not be short of its sarcasm and persecution. I can't think of a more appropriate argument these days to continue our living, not necessarily talking about it, being the example to people of how we treat them each day of our lives. And this morning's 9 a.m. prayer Vanessa had was an example of that, of how we should treat people that come into our lives. And Paul, of course, up until his last moment, he knew the afterlife was there, and he was so aware of it. And even the executioner that was with him was brought to tears almost, and didn't want to do anything to him because he was so courageous. But yet he basically had to talk him into killing himself. So we as spiritists have this opportunity every day to show our love and our charity for people, and to not be worried when people hurl insults at us as far as what we accept and know, not only believe, but we know that the afterlife is there and the good overrules everything. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right. We're gonna turn off the lights. Thank you. And pray after this inspirational message. Let us feel the invitation to be one with the good spirits, the spirit doctors, nurses, therapists, and all of us who are here physically present, incarnates and discarnates, as well as those who are connected with us through the internet. Let us visualize ourselves in a circle of prayer, visualizing our doctor of all doctors, Jesus Christ, with us. Let us feel His loving heart, sacred heart, emanating healing energies. We breathe in those energies, breathing out the toxins, and we feel that His light is enveloping us in new healing, showing to us how much we are loved unconditionally. What else, dear Master, do we want but to love in our turn, to appreciate this moment, making it immortal, memorable, when we chose to commune, to be one with you and God. But Master Jesus, we also know, as you know better than us, that there are people at this moment, even children, who are sad, who are in need of help. We would like to share the best of us as you transform the crumbs of our love into true, magnified nourishment for their souls. Manifesting the miracles of your love to each and every one, to all children, especially those who do not have a father or a mother, orphans, or those who have parents but are not feeling loved. But we pray for parents as well, that they have the strength, the endurance, the resilience to fulfill their loving mission. We pray for schools, that they be safer, more stable. We pray for educators, that they be fair and kind. We pray also for those who are in prisons for actions they didn't think before committing them. Just like any of us, who often take action without reflection. May this session, with the children here present, with the adults in two realms, be deeply therapeutic when we feel your humbling presence and we accept the invitation to join you in this banquet of healing light. with much to be grateful to you, to God. We thank you especially for allowing us to be here, and so be it. Right. Yes, thank you, Tony. So our children will have one more joyful, yummy, and fun session today. You see what it is. Enjoy, friends. Miss Luciana and Miss Daisy will be leading this beautiful session. All right. For us, we are going to begin one special session. Hold on a second. I'm just opening here. We've been together studying this book for 6 months maybe, right? We completed it, and today, right on the day before Christmas, right before we end our sessions in presence, because next weekend will be holiday weekends, we won't be here. So next time we'll see you is gonna be 2022 in the center. So the Spirit Mentors asked us to revisit some, it's not fair to say, but it's only some of the main teachings of this book. This book, Action and Reaction, was psychographed by Chico Xavier. Can you imagine Chico Xavier, just like us, working and his discipline, working all day long, 8 to 6 in Brazil, right? And yet, whenever he had a free time, he would go to the center or at his house, he would psychograph these books, which are not like simple sentences. He only had the 4th grade. That's it. And these books, often you need a dictionary by your side, right? Especially if you read it in Portuguese, because the English version simplified in so many ways. But even in English, it brings deep, deep teachings. And yet, he helped his family. He helped take care. He himself took care of several family members. And he brings to us books that are deeply transformational. This book in particular was written and published in 1957, which was 100 years after the Spirit's book was published. Of all of Andre Luiz books that begins with El Solar, this is the 10th book psychographed in the series. So before this book, it's not that there's really a sequence, but by the time we reach Action and Reaction, we should know more. And Emmanuel, in the preface of all things he says, there's a highlight we want to bring today for all of us. Emmanuel brings to us, and if you read Emmanuel's books, 2,000 years ago, 50 years later, Hail Christ, Renunciation, you see reincarnations of Emmanuel there, from the senator to the slave, and later, you see him as a priest as well. And this is us. And he says, introducing these pages to our dear reader, we recognize in the concepts we embrace not only a sanctuary of sublime consolation, but also a temple of well-defined responsibilities. Spiritism brings us consolation, and that's great, but it can't stop there. It can't be band-aid. It has to be deep healing. It has to trust. It's almost like plastic surgery. If we surrender to it, right? It's not like Botox that comes and goes. That's what people say, right? Comes and goes. You have to be reapplying. It's real plastic surgery. You change, you improve because we accept the new responsibilities, well defined responsibilities. Reincarnation should be considered a sacred step for recapitulation of our experiences. You and I are reincarnated. Our children inside, at the end, hopefully, will bring one of the things we're showing children today, how we reincarnate different bodies. And it's a beautiful setup that was created with cups, simple cups, to show how we, our spirits, enveloped by the perispirit, changing clothes, new bodies, but learning new things we've never learned. At the same time, we're recapitulating things that we still need to solidify in us. It's like, again, like children, they go home and say, I have to do this again. I've done this yesterday. I've done this exercise. I know it. Okay, show it to me. Like when you learn cursive, right? You have to repeat 10,000 times. When we were little, you had to do it every day. And our handwriting is beautiful. But if you don't practice, it's not going to get to it. Repetition is the secret to success. If you talk to any athlete, like in soccer, who was the one that received another award? Who was he? The one, Cristiano Ronaldo? No. Who was he? Who knows about soccer? That for the 10,000th time, he is the best of the best soccer player. You ask him, what do you do every day? I play soccer. Oh, but don't you know? Yeah, but I have to play every day. He knows, but if he doesn't play, what happens to our body? It says like, you don't need all those muscles there. You're not using it. Our physiology is built in such a way that if we only have what we use, what we don't use, we lose. Yeah, it's stored in the memory, but physically it's not there yet. So to practice is what's going to lead us to perfection. Reincarnation is like that. Saying, go athlete, show your love, show your love, show your love. Again, but I already told them I love them. Well, show it to them. Because if you really love, you're not tired of loving. When we love, we're not tired of loving. We hug once and twice and 3 times. And Jesus was a hugging master. At the beginning of the book, first chapter, it's titled The Light in the Darkness. We learned that Andre Luiz is around the director of the institution, Mentor Druso, and his friend, Hilario. This is Andre Luiz. And they are in a special location in the spiritual realm named Mansion Peace. And this is a drawing of a monastery named San Bernard. And they mention in the book that location is just similar to that. And it's located in the lower zone. It's administered by Nosso Lar, the colony, and was founded 300 centuries ago from the date that they mention here. And it's an institute for readjustment, kindly administered by Druso, who was a patient at first and became the director. He was there for 50 years and then he's ready to reincarnate. He was the director of this institute. Does he need to reincarnate? We know why. We learned last week. This is us. We're here, parents, telling our children, you need to be a good child. But are we good? Because we do what we want, whenever we want. We don't eat this, we don't eat that, but we say you have to eat it. You have to do it. So we're very paradoxical. That's why we need to reincarnate to say, okay, whatever you taught your children, go back. Now it's your turn. And that's what's going to happen to us in the next 100 years or so. We're going to reincarnate. Think about it. In 100 years, we may reincarnate again, beginning all over again. And what are we doing right now? So the purpose of mention peace or mention of peace is to shelter those who were unfortunate spirits who decided to work on their regeneration. But who are they? Those who were aware of their moral responsibilities, but they deliberately ignored their responsibilities with the foolish purpose of trying to deceive God. And this is us. We know we're not supposed to spend Christmas thinking of ourselves alone, but we do it. We keep doing it every year. And we keep feeling victimized, feeling that our lives are so hard, forgetting that our people who do not have the least. And we keep doing it and telling, but I'm doing something, but is this enough? So do we know, are we aware of our moral responsibilities? Maybe not, because sometimes we don't know what they are. We need to be reminded. And that's why this book comes to us to say, there's more. More. That's why in the very beginning of the book, it says to us that the study of our spiritual situation in the afterlife shall be made a priority. It's vital to read these books, especially Andre Luiz books, to be reminded of what life is all about, to know that everything that we do and that we don't do will affect us. Every little thing. This morning, I was telling Virginia, Carlos made breakfast, and she wanted something different. Well, it's normal. But she said, I don't want this bread. I say, look, Virginia, let me remind you of something. If we trash this out, nobody's going to punish you. Not even God, because God doesn't do it. But you, in your mind, in your conscience, you will register that you were spoiled, that you took for granted a piece of bread, and one day you're going to ask for the experience of not having it at all. Do you want that? You will ask for it. Do you want it? No. So let us be creative and think how we're going to eat it somewhat. And then we, in Brazil, we say, let's do pão na chapa. Put some bread on and like toast it in a different way. That's it. And ate it with gratitude. So I'm not going to tell you how to eat it or remember the children in Africa, which I do sometimes. But she needs to understand that she's setting herself up for her own experience of learning. Why? If we could learn it now. When we see teenagers with all their hormones feeling like seducing the world and loving the world and doing whatever, we need to tell them, remember, everything you do, it's recorded. You will not approve of yourself if you don't find a way to discipline your own impulses. You can do whatever you like, but you won't approve of yourself in the long run. So find a way to pray, to find the strength that you need to discipline yourself. Because if you don't know how to administer your own body, you won't progress. And that's part of life, learning how to administer our impulses. That's why we're here. So learning this continuity of life is very life-saving. It avoids 10,000 problems. This book is like a troubleshooting list. You go through and you're like, oh, now I know. And at the beginning of this book, they say, and I'll ask John to read it with your beautiful loud voice, John, please.
Earth is a valuable arena of spiritual work, something like a filter in which the soul purifies itself little by little over the course of the millennia, developing divine qualities for the ascension to the heavenly glory.
Thank you, John. So here's our spiritual work. We go to school, we go to work, we meet people. Think, pray before we take action. The other day I was in a store to buy something. People are it's like they are hypnotized. They don't see one another. That's the status. Every store you go, people are coming in and quickly, cashier, and buying this and buying that. And then I was in line and I saw this woman with 3 beautiful girls. One was in a stroller, the other ones were a little older. So beautiful. And then I kept admiring the family. The woman looked at me like puzzled why I'm looking at them. And then I wanted to say something. I said, I'm just going to emanate my admiration. I'm not going to say anything because clearly she's jiggling too much. 3 and paying the cashier. And I said, that's okay. But that's how we are. In such a rush, endless rush. Every year, all the time. Summer comes and we're in a rush. Fall comes, we're in a rush. And then winter comes, the holidays come, we're in a rush. We're always in this endless rush. And it's not even the gold rush, right? At the end of the day, we're spending more than getting anything. And then there's the rush to pay the bills, which is valid. But then, if we're paying bills to really maximize happiness, it's valid. But if it's just to keep us on the earth, deeply rooted, without elevating ourselves, without developing divine qualities. Because it's like this. Not all, but many. We spend the money of the world buying gifts for us, for our families. But then we're so greedy. For example, teachers. Parents came to me and asked, "You're going to give anything to the teachers?" I said, "Of course." "But we already paid the school." I said, "Well, but that's another story, right?" But what are we don't need to give them 25 gift cards, because I've seen this in a Montessori school once when Virginia was little. Each teacher was getting 25 gift cards from all the parents. Each teacher, there are several teachers. I said, no, that's a lot. But you need to give something. Why we're so petty when we give? And we really calculate. Give. It's not only to the homeless, it's to the people in our lives, to the doctors in their offices, because these years have been brutal for them. And now, friends, you know the news. A new variant is around, and doctors are seeing more cases than they've seen in the year before this one, last year. So we need to appreciate. We need to to express our gratitude. But they didn't do anything special, they just did their job in these conditions. Very difficult, with all those very tight masks, not like ours. Our masks are a joke. They have to really make it so tight because they are seeing patients who are contagious. And they have to spend all day long in such conditions. And still they have a family, they have a life. So these are divine qualities in us. Jesus left his greatness to come here and be human. What did we do to deserve it? Well, we're children of God just like he is, and he knows it. So when we say, why am I going to do it? That person is a child of God just like me. They have a family just like me. They have their pains and sorrows just like me. But if I have something to share, I will. And I will be. You can be sent in people's lives. And the good spirits in this book, through Andre Luiz, share with us that any suffering, all infernal suffering, is nothing but a creation of ours. So if I'm suffering, I need to ask, is there another way of seeing this so I don't see or I don't feel that suffering? Yes, there is. So we need to ask, like Dr. Diaz da Cruz. In the book Psychophonic Instructions, studied at Cardiac Radio a year ago, in a beautiful message that is somewhere in one of the issues of the Spiritist magazine named The Therapeutics of Prayer, he says that when we pray, the good spirits, even in improvised manner, they give us renewed mental elements to give us a boost. Because what our diseases are our creations. Our relationship problems are our creations. So what can I do to think differently so I can feel differently about my life? And rejoice. John.
Take the focus off your life.
Take the focus off of your life, John is saying, right? And focus on what?
On somebody else's problems.
John is saying. That's the secret. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe life's so hard. Think, there are people who are suffering more than I am. Shift all the time. But not to think, but to help. Constantly, Emmanuel reminded that to Chico Xavier. Saying, Chico, stand up, go find somebody, go help somebody else. And some people dare to say that in the US, we don't have people who need anything. You're blind, my friend. You're blind. Because we could say the contrary. There are more people who need help here than anywhere else in the world, even materially speaking. Especially for those who don't know what to do with the 10,000 things they have. It's a bother thing. It's a bothersome thing, like when, for example, we look at the toys our children have, and they grew past it, and we're like, where do we donate it? That's our problem here, right? It's a major problem. Where do we donate? And the organization don't accept it because it has to be new, it has to be this, that, and the other. But you just cross to Mexico, to Tijuana, the children, they're gonna love it. We have a friend here, Nora, who is a host at Cardiac Radio, who is always here with us on Sundays too. She teaches in Texas, very close, Brownsville, close to the border of Mexico. And as a teacher in a refugee camp, I asked her once, if we send you some toys, Would you distribute to the kids? She said, yes. And she sent us the pictures. The happiness of the kids receiving a toy. Our children have 1 million. They have none. Don't trash it out. That's our task, to find where to donate. That's our task. Where do I donate this? Well, I don't know. Pray. God's going to illuminate. We need to donate it somewhere. Keeping it like many people do, like, I don't know where to give. Oh no, that's laziness. We need to find a way. And in that way, we are elevating ourselves. In this book, they also say that if on the inside we are agitated and dark because of lack of self-control and cruel thoughts, we'll be wandering in the afterlife. Throughout the book, we see that if we want to know what's going to happen the day we discarnate, just see what's happening inside now. So it's important to be good today. Not tomorrow, not on Christmas, not on 2022. And it's so funny, I saw a post in a scientific website. You know, it's this, they say 2022 is written like 2022. And people are like, oh my gosh. But the day we're going by, we're not learning the lesson. What have we learned in this pandemic? Have we changed? The variants keep coming to say, you guys have not changed. I can't go away. We create it. We keep creating it. And the mercy of God keeps sending the pills and the vaccines. And yet we're like, I don't want vaccine. I don't want anything. I just want to mingle. I want to do whatever I want with my life. And I want to travel. Like I saw a postcard from a person who I know who sent to Virginia, a classmate, postcard saying that this year was great because they traveled to Hawaii and Virginia said, Mom, what is this? And I said, it's an American practice. You make a Christmas card showing how great your life is and pictures of you, like, life is wonderful, which is a beautiful attitude, being positive. But during the pandemic, you're sending Christmas cards saying you traveled to Hawaii? Surprising. We don't want to judge, but we're just like, how do we explain? Virginia was like, I don't understand it. Yeah, it's really puzzling. Because we're in a pandemic and you're showing the world that it doesn't affect you, that you're invulnerable, that you're invincible. Who are we kidding? Lack of self-control. Cruel thoughts. Because I don't care about the world. I don't care about the people who died, the families who are rearranging their lives. I don't care about the people who are sick. I don't care about the people. I just care that my life is great. And I see spiritists who know of this, and now they're traveling, taking pictures, Facebooking, Instagram, saying, oh, we're traveling. And you know of this, and you're showing the world that life is just to show to us how selfish we are. Any one of us here can take a plane and go any place. You can, and sometimes we have to. But do you need? Do I need to share that with people? Just like that. Pretending that the world is in a vacation mode. Pretending that everybody in my network is doing so well. And it's just this childish feelings in us, the lack of self-control. We want to see when people are going to feel miserable, take picture and post the same. We shouldn't do that either. But would we? No. But when God gives us a little, and a little, quote unquote, because God gives us a lot, gives us a little freedom. Say, vaccinate and go. And then you go. You sit down in restaurants and you pretend everything is fine and the world is great. And people are suffering, they are dying, they don't. Even we who go to Brazil, like there's no misery there. And we're Facebooking with everybody. I'm partying. And this is us. Vanessa, but isn't that judgmental? When Mentor Joseph says that to us, it's not about judging. He's educating us. When the good spirits are telling us about our lack of self-control, they're educating us. They're not judging us. They're just saying, you will not approve of yourself because when you go to sleep, you feel awful deep inside that you're showing a reality that is not permanent. You don't feel good. But Vanessa, can't we show any happiness? Of course we can. But we need to measure, thinking about the many people who are connected to us. Is this going to bring them happiness? Is what I'm posting here bringing happiness? And that's the message in the morning prayer by Andre Luiz. He says, if your hope does not benefit people, you will reincarnate to learn how to do it. We can share a good recipe that we found on the internet, a family togetherness. Yes, we can. But there's a limit to the much we share. Because there are things we keep it to ourselves. And psychology says that people who spend too much time taking pictures are not really enjoying life. Look at our teens. They were enjoying, forget the phone. Let's take a selfie. Let's feel it. It's psychology, science saying to us. We want to take pictures all the time and we're not living in the moment. Take pictures, but leave the moment first. But I missed that moment. Well, it's pictured inside. The universe took a picture because everything we do, everything we say, everything we feel, everything we think is recorded in the universal camera. When we read the book, Paul and Stephen, chapter 10, part 1, Emmanuel describes the thinking process of Saul when he is in the road to Damascus, on the road to Damascus. The thinking, the questions he's asking. Who was recording it? We don't know of any footage, but it's recorded. Now we know what he was thinking and why Jesus showed up. Jesus didn't invade his privacy. He was evoking Jesus in his thoughts, in his feelings. Whatever we feel, whatever we think is registered. It's part of life. When a teen comes to me and says, I was thinking about killing myself, and I started doing it. How long have you been thinking? Many days. But the parents didn't notice because they don't talk to their children anymore. When they say, I want my space, no. In this house, there's only one space, our family. But my privacy, as long as you are under this roof and you depend on me, we're together. I'm not going to lock myself in my room and say it's my space so you can't come, and neither do you. It's our space. Tell me, come here. Give me a hug. You don't want to say anything? Let me just hug you. It's okay. But remember, when problems come, it's going to be here. The decision and the solution. So don't keep things to yourself. Unless you're living in your house, taking care of your life by yourself, and then you can do whatever you like, keep all your secrets. But in this house, don't do it. Because if you do, at the end of the day, we'll have to take care of it ourselves together. But parents cherish the distance because they have more time for themselves too. But then life surprises us with the problems we didn't see coming because we didn't want to see. And they became true monsters. Cruel thoughts, thoughts of indifference. Cruelty is indifference to other people's importance, feelings. In this book, we learn that despair is like a state of dementia, which is caused by mental disobedience. He says to us, Andre Luiz, quoting also Mentor Druso's words, that we can't despair. Things are troublesome. There's always hope. There's always solution. Breathe. Calm. In the Gospel According to Spiritism by Kardec, chapter 5, there is a chapter that is very important. Talks about the afflictions and says that calm and surrender or resignation, they save us from suicide and mental illness. But we're so rebellious inside of us. This fever of insanity and rebelliousness will lead us to actions that will lead us to guilt. Guilt will lead us to remorse and penitence, and that's where we are in hot waters. So we can't kick and scream. If we see in our children, in ourselves, these impulses to be rebellious, I don't care, I'll do whatever I like, that's my life. It's very spiky, right? Think of a porcupine. Porcupine, it's like very spiky. Thorns. It's not comfortable. Say, okay. I understand that you have different ideas. I understand you have an impulse of innovation. But let us turn it to the good, to the benefit of everyone, especially yourself. Because rebelling against anything is just going to bring us guilt. And remorse. And remorse is so bad because it's like we're chewing upon that sour food that we're not digesting. What to do? Do the good. Help somebody. Help somebody. Help a friend. Help a colleague. Help a family member. So you feel better. Help someone. Another teaching that we get is to suffer in the afterlife is not enough to pay all the debts of our conscience. Some people say, yeah, I'm going to the lower zones, to the umbral. Oh, well, as if it's just like going to the mud, like swimming in the mud. It's much worse than that. Think about a tormented day for many days. That's what it is. We are already feeling that. You don't want to keep feeling that without a break. without a break, because here we turn on the TV, we come to the Spiritist Center, we listen to music, we work, people talk to us, but there, it's in our face all the time. Boom, 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 boom. And that suffering does not do anything. But I suffered. Oh, no, no. We have to repair. God is so good that He says, I want you to feel good for doing the good, not for suffering. God doesn't want us to suffer. Suffering doesn't help us unless we learn with the suffering. And then we shift to another mode. If we keep insisting on being victimized, now these are the strongest chapter in this book. When they say what happens if we just want to feel like how hard our life is, how difficult. So many people are like this. You talk to them and all they say is like a new hardship in all their lives. I'm a victim, for me, so difficult. We're going to connect with spirits who are in the school of Avengers. And we learn, they have teachings there, showing to us that when we feel victim, usually, not to say all the time, we'll become the very cruel people in somebody else's life. These organizations exist in the spiritual realm. They are maintained by criminal intelligences, temporarily hiding out in the lower zones. You remember the story of Antonio Limpio, his brothers, his son who was incarnated, and the hundreds of spirits who were trained to come and avenge because they feel themselves like victims. They took our inheritance and now they have to pay. One generation after the other, non-stop. We attract them and they come. And they create what we say a dynamic of obsession that works just like this, they say, twofold. One, they know that we all possess a central desire or a basic theme in our innermost recesses. They know. Some people reincarnate and their theme is sex. That's their theme. They do everything that everybody does, but their focus in life is sex. They want to feel the pleasure. Other people, it's money. Other people, power. Other people, beauty. Some people, their theme is the lack of forgiveness. For anything, they would be angry at anyone. Sometimes it's anger. They know, they come and they push those buttons. They push, they push, they push, they push until we fall. They bring in friends saying, oh, I just bought a Tesla. Oh, I just bought a new home. And you're like, oh my gosh, do I need to do the same? Do I need to do the same? Maybe I do. And they're not supposed to do. But then they believe if everybody's doing it, they are supposed to do the same. They forget that in this life, they planned a different thing. They promised to help people in a different way. But they're like, well, everybody's doing this. Maybe I'm supposed to do the same. And the spirits come and create a mental fixation through hypnosis called technical illusions. They keep sending, like for people who have sex addictions, the internet now, whoa, Yeah, we have to say that this week it was all over the news that the singer Billie Eilish was mentioning how harmful watching porn at 11 years old was in her life, how it destroyed her mind. And then we wanted to ask, where were your parents, by the way? Because you were just 11, right? Where were they when you were watching that? Because at 11, you're not supposed to be doing whatever you like if you have good parents. Good parents. But they are independent, but they are just 11. Scientifically, they are not mature in their discernment until 20 some years because of the prefrontal cortex. We have to be on it. Like, what are you doing? Tell me, what is it? It's not like being a helicopter mom or father. It's about being present. We're supposed to be present. At 11, watching porn, creating mental fixations. And now she became a great awarded singer at 18, but her songs are dark. Dark. She's being awarded for dark songs, creating more mental fixation in other people too. And these spirits, they know how to do it. They send the stimuli in our lives. We need to see it in ourselves. Where am I weak? Let me find a physical therapist. If that muscle is weak, that limb is weak, let me work on it. Where are we in need of therapy? Am I a person who easily resents? Am I a person who difficultly forgets wrongdoings, who only focuses on the negative? Am I a person? I need to find out what it is and take care of it and find help to fix it, especially prayer. Since we're talking about prayer, this book has 10,000 things. We'll skip straight to the last part because that's the highlight of the book. At the end of the day, from case to case, chapter to chapter, we see that prayer is the ultimate source of help. This book shows to us we're never alone, that we're always being helped, but we need to ask for help. So we'll go straight to that part when we learn that prayer is always a proof of goodwill and understanding in our testimony as indebted spirits. And when we talk about prayer, we talk about the connection with those who love us, who know about us, if we just surrender to their help. Skipping a little more and going straight, reminding us of pieces of Druso's prayer. As we are around the corner of Christmas, let us recall when he, Mentor Druso, talks to the Divine Master. Jesus is personally responsible for all of us. Use and abuse of this relationship, and I say this figuratively speaking. But he's tired of me. No, he's not tired of you. He loves us. Mentor Druso says, Divine Master, bless our meeting in this place of peace and service. Bless our homes. Please bless. I know you do, but I recognize that we need your blessing. I need your help. When you go to a physical therapist, if you need it, You just don't go there and say, I'm sorry, I need you again. It's part of the protocol. You have to go 10,000 times until you're fixed. And sometimes we have to do it for the rest of our lives. So what? We don't need to excuse ourselves for it. But use that mechanism. He says we're indebted spirits, Mentor Druso says, throughout his prayer. We read it last week in our passages. Master, we too are your words, obeyed still prisoners of clamorous rebelliousness. We're still very rebellious on earth, enduring deplorable consequences of our crimes. But in Druso's prayer, he reminds us that we have a purpose to help others, and that's how we're going to be helped. Lord, you have entrusted us with the task of examining the problems of the unfortunate brothers or sisters who knock at our door. Thus, we're compelled to probe their misfortunes so that we may somehow lead them to readjustment. Eternal benefactor, do not allow our hearts to become hardened. Finalize and make it an encounter with the Master. Let us feel his presence. We brought to you a few pictures to show to us in a way how close Jesus is to all of us. Knowing what we need, but it's up to us to come to him. We're going to dim the lights, please. Thank you, Tony. And I'll pass some pictures so we feel that Jesus is never tired of coming to our rescue. He never asks us again. He's always gonna come, no matter who we are, no matter what brought us to our dirtiness, to our weaknesses, to our sorrows, no matter what people think of us. Jesus is always going to be by our side. Even when we betray him, proclaiming our Christianity, our connection with him, and behaving just like Judas, selling him for so cheap that daily we feel guilty. In our passage session today, as we prepare ourselves for this encounter with Jesus this Christmas, we're going to recall a major poem that Maria Dolores wrote through Chico Xavier. The encounter given by Jesus when Mother Mary comes for Judas' rescue. It's a poem that we've already talked about at our morning prayer. This is in a version as a song in Portuguese, but it's so therapeutic that we're going to listen to this. It's a video that brings to us the very encounter as our very passes today. At the end, we'll read some excerpts just in English. Let me just play it. Hold on. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, hold on. Let's go straight to YouTube and get it there. Right there. Portuguese, I forgot. It's the singer, Spiritist singer. Hold on a second. Let's share with our friends. Here you go. Oops, sorry. Okay. Okay, where is it? We're gonna put the link of the video for people later in the streaming of today's so people can recap it because we have a glitch in our system here. I don't know what it is. So meanwhile, for those who have seen the morning prayer recently, it's Mary coming to Judas in the Valley of Suicides. He's blind. He cannot see it because that's what happens to us when we don't see the truth.